Which that girlies? I heard something from the files. And why? Of course, we know that guy who had been talking to some higher ups about, teaching others about God in a good way that is totally making a mess over there because he's using his little stint of putting girls in a certain island to actually continue abhorrent practices. He sold the story of God totally getting justified into, you know, doing something to a young girl we all know as the Virgin Mary. Let's try to set the record straight for the Catholics and the witches out there. Because we all know folk Catholic witches already settled this issue a long, long time ago. Mary's story did, yes, canonically tell that she received the Son of God at a young age. But do not allow the story of the Virgin Mary to be reduced if you want to actually keep on empowering men to just be a story of an all very old sky daddy to touch a little young girl and view it as sacred just because he can. Traits of compassion, sacrifice, all those good traits that lots of women, mothers have, are exhibited in Mary. That's why a lot of women, even in Asia, continue to want to be an example of someone who could follow her steps. That's different from worship, okay? Just someone who could follow her steps. Okay, so he reframed it, right? That guy who offed himself, he reframed the story to justify touching little girls and boys, especially little girls, by saying Mary didn't say no. She said yes. So she allowed it. Mary did have the capacity to say no. She took the challenge to herself, received the Son of God directly because she knew the cost. So many women nowadays are very great FBI investigators. You know why? Because even without intuition inside their head, men are afraid of women by default for getting found out. Okay? So think of that as our inherent capacity to actually know that we are more than capable to become vessels like Mary was during the time that she was given the news. Okay? I'm setting the record straight because some people actually forget that part about Mary. She's still a girl, she's still a woman, but that never meant that she was never capable of doing those kinds of laps inside her head. Even as a teenager, lots of teenage girlies actually know how to do this on the regular, because, adolescents. Why would we want another woman's story as young as Mary to be reduced to subjugation from another guy? It was actually also about resilience and survival. Counter that propaganda, okay? Because even Maakali presented motherly traits, compassion towards her own children that she still does now with her own followers. Hecate protecting the abused. Same thing. Some women forget to give kindness, to give compassion, to give mercy. We have to calculate a lot of things in our damn heads just to settle and say to ourselves, we have to be kind, we have to give compassion, we have to understand. Men let their impulses run laps inside their heads and make them do the stupidest shit possible, that women are inherently capable of actually making themselves think twice before they do it. Never get rid of that impulse of actually restraining that weird thing that makes a lot of guys win the Darwin Awards. This is feminism back in 2013 too, and earlier, because this has already been talked about by Simone de Beauvoir. So, yes, never let Mary's story be reduced to be a consenting teenager. Because, yes, we have to acknowledge the fact that she was young, but her conditions were different. That does not apply to the modern day. Nonetheless, for women who still do experience that or did experience that at a young age, this is why there is a girl called Mary. Okay? She learns how to survive as a young mother. Never allow yourself to be just reduced to a story of someone who got touched at a young age. When a person suffers that kind of abuse, they must never let that kill their soul. That's why support groups exist. That's why old guys who want to touch little young girls for no apparent reason, because they will justify everything in the book, everything inside their head, just so they can touch little girls and boys, will do everything they can to try to justify their actions, which is not a good practice to even do in religion anymore. So reframe the story of Mary. Bring it back to what it actually was. A young girl who survived through everything, raised a son who helped change the world. So, yes, if you're actually Catholic and you actually like that guy who actually likes the guy who went to the island, if you actually idolize a guy who was in the list, think twice. You might actually be blaspheming against your own religion already because you're justifying their acts for allowing them to touch little girls that are already rampant inside the files. It's tested and proven already. They released it. So maybe think twice if you're actually Catholic. That's why no actual Catholic, if they have any common sense of morality as well and ethics, support that guy upstairs right now. You know, in your country, in your particular country. You know what I'm talking about.